Hi, I'm Andrea.
Hey, y'all, this is Courtney, and welcome to the Human Design and Liberation podcast.
This is a space where we explore how human design and liberation theology intersect with the past, present, and future,
with the intent of sharing the beauty and pain of the human experience to encourage you in your liberation journey.
So it's funny because we have like very different storylines that end at HD and Liberation. Mine is short. Like my storyline is short. Like I thought there's no way I'm doing a podcast until I got a Spleenic hit the weekend after we did our Instagram live. That was like podcast. And I was like, what? So that's my story.
That's how you got here. You're like, whatever. Oh, now? Okay.
Typical spleen fashion. I know yours was longer, so I'm curious how yours transpired.
I love how this definitely is like, you're a generator when, you're a projector when, you're a generator when. You've been dreaming about doing a podcast for a long time, and you tried to start podcasts in the past yourself. You've tried to go to the classes and do the things, but it just never felt right. And I had a whole like plan for a podcast, and maybe one day I'll get there. I'm thinking like a lot of the things I plan to do like on my own, that'll happen like on my third, like my role model phase, like after 50, I'll have all the things. But I was like, there's so many people I want to talk to, and I just didn't want to do it by myself. I just was like, I don't want to initiate this. I don't want to like carry this thing just because whatever. And so I had to let it rest. I had to really get to a place where I'm just like, okay, I know this will happen because it's something I want to do. This is what I've learned so far from my design. I know this will happen because it's something I really want.
Yeah.
But I'm just waiting for the moment to be able to respond to the thing that's going to make the way for me. Almost where is the way going to be made?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where will the energy be? Yeah. I love this example of you and your sacral authority, because you were feeling a sacral response to a podcast, right? Like,
yes,
you were feeling a response to a podcast, but when you felt into, is this mine to do in this way by myself? There wasn't.
Yes, exactly.
And that's such a great example of the dilemma for sacral generators, because you get sacral responses to everything that needs to be in existence, right? But not everything that needs to be in existence is yours to bring into existence.
And the reason why, and this is why I love, and it's funny because of course this is happening. Like I'm hearing you, I'm sharing energy with you, I'm getting clarity because I'm in the aura of a projector, and in this container. And it really does. The thing about a generator, the thing about me is that whatever I do, I go all out. Like it is, I was just talking about this with Dave, my husband. Whatever it is I'm a part of, I am like 150% like invested, pouring so much into it.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten to a place in my journey to where I know that's the case. Yeah. And so when it came time to, when I'm having this sacral response to a podcast, like subtext to this conversation, like you said, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I got it for this. Like you said, the energy, I don't have it for this. I'm going to go all out, and I don't have the container, the capacity to go all out for this right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you mentioned in our conversation that we have like a beautiful like time every week where we just get together and just like nerd out and connect and be human design sisters in this world. And you're like, podcast. And I was like, yes, podcast, you know?
I was like, okay, that's a sacral yes. Awesome.
My rabid, response,
I
And it was
literally
like,
just had this with
I think
another
that's
client.
good.
Like I was walking by and I was like, hey, I want to see if you have a sacred response to this. We're talking about doing a retreat in January. And she's like, what day? I'm putting it on my calendar right now. I was like, okay, thank you. That's the sacred response I was looking for.
We should start taking Jack Russell response, baby. Jack Russell Terrier response. That's a happy generator.
That's a good one.
That is a yes.
The
That is a
energy
very
is there
clear
for
yes.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So
yeah.
that was my journey. That was my journey
I love it.
to the HDLiberation podcast. And I think the other side of it, someone with a defined ajna, is that I am constantly like putting a lot of different pieces together. So that was one of the struggles. It's like, how do I, and having a triple split, how do I like categorize the thing that I want to bring into the world? Because it touches so many things that I know connect. Yeah. But in the world, because of the way that we segment, the way that we isolate subjects and subject matter, I was really struggling with like, where does this go? How does this work? And honestly, like the HDLiberation concept as a concept, I responded to immediately because that's how I see it. And that's how I see these pieces. It was like, oh, that's it. That's how these pieces fit together. Yeah, if you don't already know, like Andrea also bridges my splits, and definitely like from this like creative, analytical, like philosophical perspective, we are like peas in a pod, and it's so rare to find for me, at least in this moment. So
rare for me too. You bridge my split. You're triple, so that's harder to do than I'm just a single split, but you bridge my split and we're both 6 lines. So there's just like a natural affinity there. And it's interesting because the HDxLiberation concept first came in as a course. Like really that was what it presented itself as, an opportunity to dive deeper into the intersection of human design as a tool for liberation, which is a lot of where my work has been over the last 3 or 4 years since pivoting my business 100% to human design. And as we were talking about doing the podcast, and when you said, let's call it HDxLiberation, I was like, oh, like this is not a course. This is so much more than a course right there. Wow. So I don't know, I felt like expansiveness, and I felt, it wants to be its own thing. It wants to be its own sentient being, and we get to shepherd it. And that feels like such an honor. I feel really humbled by it. It's exciting. It's exciting. So I'm grateful that you got that Spleenic hit, and here we are. Here we are. And I would say, I just also want to acknowledge and also maybe honor, have gratitude for the fact of the fight that it took to get here. There was also like quite a bit of, and I want to say this because to really dispel this idea that human design or even like the struggle for liberation or anything like that is anything besides a struggle, because it is. Because we are dealing with systems, these old 7-centered systems that are intended to be obstructive to our self-realization, our actualization as humans. And so there was like a journey that each of us had to go through to get here and bring this into the world. And a lot of our conversations are going to honor that, just like what I so appreciate about Ra and his lectures and how he chose to contextualize his work is to talk a lot about the not self, talk a lot about conditioning, talk a lot about the 7-centered
way, and how obstructive that conditioning creates such resistance for us to realize ourselves and realize where we're going, and how we can bring the things that we are supposed to bring into the world to the collective, and like how just obstructive it is in that. So I just want to name we see you and all this stuff.
Right? I think we need to name it and normalize it. I think we're probably going to end up having to do a whole episode on this, but one of the concepts that Ra talks about is that you only get out of the Maya what you put in. And as you're talking, I'm just getting this visualization of how much energy has been put into systems of oppression for thousands of years.
Oh yeah, that's
so
a really
much
important way of framing
energy
that.
has been put into systems of oppression. And so when we're looking at how to tear these systems down, how to make space for individuality, which is what we're moving into with 2027 and everything that's coming, we need to put in, I'm chilling head to toe, we need to put in enough energy to disrupt the energy that's been put into the systems of oppression. And so what does that look like? It doesn't look like rainbows and butterflies. It just doesn't. Like, it looks like big ass bonfires. It looks like purging. It looks like tearing things down. It looks like getting torn down in the process and having to rebuild yourself, because our bodies, our cells were literally formed under different ideas, oppressive ideas. And so until there's a cellular rebirth under liberatory ideas, there's not going to be able to be space for integration. You're not going to be able to embody the concepts. And that just takes time. Right. There's just no other way. It just takes time. And I think looking at even, and we'll get into this in the interview episodes around our liberation stories, but just whoever is listening, I want you to have compassion for yourself, and I want you to acknowledge yourself for getting to whatever point you needed to get to where you found this podcast, because that shows us what journey you're on. And to know that even if you aren't where you want to be right now, you're heading that way, and you can trust your signature. You can trust satisfaction, success, peace, surprise to guide you, to continue to guide you in that direction without needing affirmation or confirmation externally. I think that's one of the biggest gifts of human design is getting that internal confirmation through the way that your energy type works.
Right. Yes. And I also, that's so good. What it brought up for me is like when you were talking about the energy that it took to build this seven-centered way, one thing that came to mind was that our energy was forced into the process.
Absolutely.
I think this podcast, our philosophies are also grounded in liberation, theology, liberation, theory, critical theory, and all of those things. And so we are centering these non-white, non-European methodologies for understanding our society. And one thing that's imperative in that is to understand power dynamic, to understand the flow of energy in an imperial or colonized space, which is rerouting. It's like rerouting a river. It's like a dam. That's how it affects society and those marginalized and oppressed in the societies. It takes our energy and it reroutes it. It steals it for the purposes of empire. And so just the fact that you're here, you're reclaiming your energy, you're reclaiming your identity from the conditioning that you've experienced, you're differentiating yourself and rejecting the homogenization which occurs in our society because they need you to be predictable so you can be useful. And so you're choosing against those things. And that is in and of itself literally taking your power back, literally like removing your power from this damned imperialism.
Yeah.
And that is definitely worth honoring.
Yeah. It's worth honoring, and it's exciting because it creates such a different possibility for experiencing life. Being on the ride.
Yes.
As Ra would say. Okay. I love this. Let's talk a little bit about what you can expect from these episodes.
Yeah.
And it is its own thing. So we're not exactly 100% sure, but we have some ideas and we're going to let it take its own form. But
absolutely,
we are going to have some interviews with different thought leaders that we know and love, and we can't wait for you to meet them. We're going to have some episodes where we jam on certain subjects at this intersection of human design and liberation. And there's going to be other ways to engage, to meet each other, to be in community and conversation. And all of that is just going to grow as we grow, because even just answering this call, where we had to go through a lot to get through, to get to this point. Myself, like, literally had to move homes, had to go through stomach flu, had to, like, craziness and wild. It's been wild. Navigating my Uranus opposition, good times that I'm smack in the middle of right now. It's actually perfected the second time on Monday, like 4 days ago, on the new moon, which was also opposing Uranus.
Jeez.
Good times. Good times. Yeah.
Andrea, it's almost like you are going to be like ushering in a new world or something, and you have to go through all the things. So be ready for that projector role.
Something is happening for sure. Something is happening.
Something massive.
Reorganization. Yeah, and I know you've been through a lot too.
Yeah, just like work.
Mapping your work landscape.
Yes, I say that so passively, and I appreciate you stopping me because I'm a generator. So work means a lot in my life. And the way, honestly, just the way that what it was really confronting is the way I use my energy and where. And and as I said earlier, that when I commit to a work, when I commit to being a part of bringing something into the world, I am 100% fully in. And it's not a contest to me. I'm not in any way comparing myself to anybody else ever. And I think this is why I was so unconscious to this reality for so long, because it's not about anybody else. I'm not trying to outpace or whatever. When I'm a part of something, it's just, I want it to be perfect. I want all the right words. I'm a writer. So I want every word to be like the best possible word for the concept to
the best expression.
And I also wanted to be true to myself.
Yeah.
The best expression for the subject as a writer.
Yeah, but you're also a 6 line.
Right.
So you're a pure generator, a sacral generator, and also a 4/6. And the next episodes are going to go deep into each of our designs so that our listeners can really understand more about the different perspectives that we have. But I feel like this is just such an important learning for pure generators, because it is hard for you to change direction once you commit your energy.
Yes.
And Ra talks about that a lot. And that's the reason why authority is so powerful. It's so powerful for you to have that relationship with your sacral authority or your emotional authority and really wait for the yes from your authority before you commit that energy, because otherwise the likelihood of you being stuck with something that you don't want to do anymore is high. So
yes, it's so true. And it's funny because the other thing too was like, I knew it really quickly. And I've seen this. I was talking again to my spouse about this. I know it really, really quickly when something's not right. My sacrals are not. But the thing about it is because they're not connected to any type of like societal rationale, it's not common sense what's happening in the sacral.
Right.
It is very specific. It is very individualized. It is very spiritual, like soul level. It's like in many ways not of this world. It's not bound by time or society or norms or anything of that nature. And so when that signal goes off and I'm like, it's like that zap, that energy sap, that like about what you're doing. And that honestly, and bringing this in as a Black woman, as someone who has a queer woman, as someone who has dealt with poverty for like childhood poverty, and also a lot of messaging around what voices are trustworthy and what voices aren't, and my body in particular being untrustworthy, unclean, unright voice, not just a neutral voice, but a negative one.
Yeah.
There is a lot to work through around trusting that voice the authority that I've been given, and literally that voice is the I don't give a fuck voice. It's I don't give a fuck what the norms are, what this person says, what your bank account looks like. I don't give a fuck. This is good or bad, period.
Yeah.
And that's a journey. And it was the language, and understand that I'm not here to make sense, that sense follows me. What's right for my life follows me. It's not vice versa. Like no one. So it's.
Yeah. That validation or that knowing is not going to come from the outside. Yeah. And I literally was just talking to another sacral generator about this yesterday, because it's been hundreds of years that in some cases, for those with Indigenous European ancestors, it's been thousands. For those with Indigenous enslaved African ancestors, it's been many hundreds. So all of us, we all have a lot of work to do around this. And it's layers. The beautiful thing is just these magical plants that they're finding that they thought were extinct, and there were seeds that were preserved in different places. Like the life force comes back, and the life force comes back quickly, right? And so that's the part that we can lean into and trust and invest in the process. It's just so worth investing in the process.
Absolutely. Yay. Yeah, we're worth the work.
We are. Yeah. Life is worth the work.
It is. It is. Oh, this is so good. This is so good.
So good. Okay. I think this is good for our origin story. Is there anything else that you feel like we should include?
No. Only that we met on IG through an amazing person that I do want to name because they're amazing and we love them.
Yes.
But Rebecca Barucki, founder of Row House Publishing, like a phenomenal person, phenomenal human who's doing some amazing work around publishing and uplifting minoritized voices and minoritized subjects now, because that's a thing.
Yep.
And and just beautiful. And we love her so much.
Yes.
We love them tons.
Yes. We're so grateful that they have created the little corner of the internet that they have, and to be a part of that mission. And that mission brought us together, because that was wild. Like, I commented on one of your comments, and then you saw that I was in human design, and you were like, wait a minute.
Counts. Jack Russell response. Honestly, it was, and we'll go into this more, but honestly, yes, you were in human design, which was exciting. But then I think it was a comment itself. It was something related to white supremacy or anti-Black racism, and you were like, hell yes, like this stuff sucks. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I clicked that you're in human design, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm reading your posts, and that's like the Jack Russell response was just like, I gotta get in her DMs. I gotta get her DMs. We gotta connect. That was like cherished moment.
Yeah. So beautiful. And yeah, that was almost 2 years ago now. So many wild and fun things have happened over that time. So many stories to share.
Yes.
I love it. I love it so much. To everyone listening, thank you for being here. And yeah, some more fun coming your way. More episodes to come.
Yes. Stay tuned. That's my NPR voice. Black people call it NPR, not NPR.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into HDxLiberation podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights into human design and its role in building a life of peace, success, satisfaction, and wonder. If you've enjoyed this episode, please show your support by liking, following, and sharing our podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Your engagement helps us reach more people who can benefit from this wisdom. For exclusive content and to join our thriving community, consider becoming a Patreon member. Your support allows us to continue exploring the depths of human design and its potential for life and community transformation. Stay tuned for more fun, thoughtful, and impacting discussions. Together, we're unlocking the path to a more liberated and authentic life. Thank you for being part of HDxLiberation podcast.